This is Phil Fullwave. Today we are going to talk about a split cassette between Wormhead and Werewolf Jerusalem, released by Southwest Germany's Puzzle Records in 2020. This tape packs some ripping harsh noise comprised in a little under 30 minutes of total runtime. The release packs two projects, one being Werewolf Jerusalem by prolific experimental artist Richard Ramirez from projects such as Black Leather Jesus, Crashing at Every Speed, and various solo endeavors, besides his work as a fashion designer and a visual artist. And the other one being Mark Schummer's Wormhead, which is his main noise outlet, besides being heavily involved with puzzle records, seems like. The tape comes in a jewel case with a transparent outer shell and a 70s blue tray. The front shows a woodcut depiction of a massacre in a village by a werewolf, while showing the artists' project names in their respective logos and fonts. The 2-page J card also shows some info for each track with accompanying photographs. Also, some label info and numeration is being shown. Side A, Werewolf Jerusalem, The Wolfman's Claw. Werewolf Jerusalem is considered Richard Ramirez's more esoteric project, with being less rooted in depraved and sexy sounds that stemmed from reality and pop culture, but moving more in the realm of abstract sound. I believe he mentioned in an interview once that he was using nothing more than a shortwave radio, distortion units, and tape for Werewolf Jerusalem anyway. And I can see this. The Wolfman's Claw is a dense block of textured sound, very wall noise in spirit and the percussion of sound, but it's apparent that there's a little more going on underneath the thick blanket of tape rumble this piece mainly consists of. It's very bass heavy and low mid heavy and has a somewhat pleasant blanket feel to it. Especially taken out of context of the more grim artwork that houses the tape of a werewolf or a lycanthrope ravaging a village, eating the young. But honestly, I don't feel this connection much. I'm gravitating toward my original feeling about the piece much more. Anyway, there's no progress in the piece, but the sonic palette of the piece offers enough to entertain on the course of its 13 minutes runtime. I found myself hearing between the cracks and pulling back a lot to let the complete sound in, switching volume levels a lot to both feel the bass rumbles but also focus on the mid info and movement. I appreciate this piece and I got a lot out of it. Wormhead, Radiation. With a shift in sound and mix, Wormhead delivers some ripping contemporary harsh noise with a focus on texture, layering, and movement. In comparison to the first piece, Radiation is a lot more differentiated in sound, rocking a mid-heavy mix to give space to the different sounds that are being used to paint the mid-tempo dirge of Radiation. It sounds like different means of noise generation are being used, mainly being rooted in electronics. A lot of different static sources, some feedback to spice it up, some shaker box dynamics, feels like. Mid track is getting some more aggressive, dynamic, modulated textures come in that pick up the pace of this piece. The piece grows in drama and weight towards the end by adding unproportional amounts of bass pulses that push the sonic capacity of the tape or compress the AW track that was used for the recording. This really pushes the piece over the cliff and changing the whole face of the track in the last couple of minutes until nothing but some really sexy bass pulses end the track. That dynamic change could have started a little earlier though, since I felt like the piece really started to breathe and come out of its shell once the pulses got added to the mix. It felt grand and poised almost, and I got a lot out of it. Not that I didn't enjoy the first three quarters, but it felt like the piece could have lived more by being proportioned a little more evenly. I like the energy of this piece. It certainly feels like witnessing chaos in its rawest and most untainted form. It feels like witnessing life being created out of nothing, which is a work of beauty. Is it my sound? Not 100%ly. I could have done with a little more dynamics and volume and a more evenly distributed composition. But I don't know if the core feeling I eventually got from this piece would have landed with me like that if there would have been more dynamics involved. General feeling. It's a great document of ripping contemporary harsh noise with two artists bringing their very own sound to the release, and there's not much trickery being done to even it out much. The tape format suits this release really well since mixing wise, Werewolf Jerusalem's track sounds a lot different than the first half of Wormhead's, so there's some natural adjustment going on anyway while I was turning the tape. But both pieces sound great on their own, so I'm happy the tracks were mixed as they were. I don't really get the artwork though. Feels like it's much too horror for the sake of being horror than what was presented sonically, but that's just my impression. Anyway, it's a very cool tape. I had a good time with it. Thank you, Puzzle Records, for the release, and thank you, dear viewer, for watching.